Hello there. So this is a little bit different video of sorts. My name is Jeff from Jeff's Cars, and I thought I'd do a video as I'm sitting in my recreational vehicle. Now, a couple of things, and part of the reason for doing this video is because I've been hearing a lot of noise and a lot of chatter on YouTube about how the RV industry is so bad and the quality is so bad, and there's frames breaking on various different manufacturers, and you know the RVs are falling apart. Well, and maybe that's true. However, a couple things that I want to bring to the light, and you know there's several people out there. The one that comes to mind that keeps coming up on my YouTube feeds is RV Wingman, and he's supposed to be for the consumer and so on and so forth. Now, give you a little background. I spent, well, first of all, the last 22 years I've been in the telecommunications industry, but before that I spent about 16 years in the recreational vehicle industry, in the manufacturing side of it, and then at the dealer side of it. So I've got a lot of knowledge, and you know, coming out of the the 1980s and during the 1990s, the RV industry was really growing at that time, and it's still growing, except for this year. The industry is falling flat on its face because well, the manufacturers are still pushing stuff out, but the dealers aren't selling anything. The interest rates are too high, and nothing's getting sold, and you know, so on and so forth. It's just trickle down economics, and it's just crap. But still, with that in mind, are RVs that bad? So let's talk about the towable market. Now, you know, as far as the motorized market, you know, I haven't had my pulse on that for very much, but in the towable market, you know, the consumer today, it's self-satisfaction, and you know, they got to take everything with them under the sun when they go camping, and quite frankly, if I were to tour this travel trailer of mine, and it's a 2012 Sabre, it's 32 foot long. If I were to tour it, I would almost guarantee you I am right at its capacity on the weight limit of the cargo capacity, with the exception of I don't have anything in the refrigerator because we haven't taken it out anywhere. You know, it's the first part of June in Nebraska, and my wife and I sometimes try and get out, but you know, we just haven't this year because of other things. But weight, that's where the consumer right now, and RV manufacturers are not going to pay out on warranties if the consumer is overloading your RV. If you are overloading your RV. Case in point, I pulled into a campground last year or the year before last. 40-foot toy hauler comes in, and they get set up and everything, and open up the back end. Out comes not one, not two, but 3 four-wheelers. They were 2 on the bottom, and then they had another configuration where they pulled one up on top of the other. Folks, number one, probably wasn't designed to hold that many, and I don't know what they weigh each, probably 1,500 pounds, 2,000 pounds each. That's 6,000 pounds in the back of that. I'll bet you if I were to go back, and I couldn't tell you who the manufacturer of the toy hauler was, if I were to go back and look, that whole thing probably only had an 8,000 pound capacity limit. But then, you know, after the folks opened up the back end, and out come these toy haulers. But before that, there were not one but 2 adults, and then 3 kids that got out of the cab of the pickup that was towing it. So guess what? That's 5 people that is staying in this RV, and that's 5 people's worth of stuff that goes into that 5th wheel. Folks, the frame's going to bend and it's going to break. I mean, where the gooseneck piece comes up over the overhang of the 5th wheel, guess what? That weld that's across there is going to break because there's so much pressure. the next thing, and I see this a lot in Nebraska and Iowa. You've got a fifth wheel, you've got a 28 or 32 foot fifth wheel, and then what's being towed behind it? A 20-foot boat. Folks, guess what? RV manufacturer's not going to warranty the frame of that fifth wheel if you've got a 4,000, 5,000 pound boat being towed by the fifth wheel that's being towed by the pickup. Guess what? You're putting the stress on the frame. So, RV Wingman, dude, I like some of your stuff, but geez Louise, sending the consumer to attorneys and things like that, and about this guy suing this because this frame broke and lippered and whatever that noise is that's out there. Guess what? They need to look at, and this is probably what the manufacturers are doing, is they are drilling down and drilling down with the consumer and say, hey, how are you using this? I did when I was a national warranty manager for a towable manufacturer. Guess what? I didn't buy back any units. I didn't have any settlements in the 3.5 years that I was in that position. But I got fired from the company because of the fact that I would do service at my plant at a little bit more reduced rate, and of course we were the manufacturer. We know how it was put back together. So guess what? There's a lot of shady dealers out there that don't know how to work on it, and I'll bet you that still exists today. So and that's when I got into the telecommunications industry. I mean, I got out of the RV business and got into something totally different. I enjoyed the RV industry. I really did, because guess what? I like to camp. I like to go places. I like to see new things. Another case in point. I'll tell you this, folks. I don't remember the year. It was the early 90s. I was working for a motorized manufacturer, and they're no longer in business. They the mid 90s was rough on the RV industry, but I was sent to St. Paul, Minnesota, where Class C motorhome had pretty much just burnt to the ground. Well, the insurance company of the owner of the RV was suing. It was a Ford E350 chassis, and naming the RV manufacturer as well. So I went up there to St. Paul, and it was one of the coldest days of the year in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I mean, we're talking, wind chills 30, 40 below zero, and so the insurance company had arranged to take this into a building, and it was in the building, and I sat there and I looked at it, and of course, knowing how the motorhome, the Class C motorhome was built, I sat there and looked at it, and I'm going, what's this wire? And I started chasing it down, and on the passenger side of the motorhome, I knew there was an underbelly, under the floor plastic compartment, and of course it was gone, but there was a wire there, and that wire also was with it, along with that, was a battery that was sitting on the floor that the fire department had gathered everything up and put it on there. And I'm going, well, that's not supposed to be there. What had happened was the end user, the owner of it, he just bought the motorhome a couple, 3 or 4 months ago. Thought, if one auxiliary battery is good, let me put in a second one. Now, keep in mind, the E350 chassis in the early 90s had two batteries in the front. One on the, I believe the driver's side one was for the starter and for the engine, and the one on the passenger side was for the coach. And so what he had done was put in a battery in a plastic compartment, non-vented, and hooked it up. Ran the positive in the ground. Well, the ground I think he tied to the frame, but the positive wire went back up to the other battery, so that when the solenoid engaged to charge it from the engine, it would charge both batteries simultaneously. Well, then just shortly before, and this is how I got to drill down to what had taken place, the owner of the motorhome had taken it to another place and thought, well, it's undercoated. We undercoated it at the factory, but guess what? If some is good, more is better, right? No, it's not. And so what had happened was the positive wire going to that battery in a sealed compartment, by the way. Batteries are supposed to be vented. Okay? 12-volt batteries, marine batteries, series 24, 27, 29 batteries, they're supposed to be vented. So those of you who have boats and things like that, make sure the vents are there, because that's what causes your boats to explode. But didn't vent it, and so then the positive wire, good old heavy duty battery cable wire, going out the compartment, they tried to tie it alongside of on the frame. Well, on the Ford, the exhaust is right there, but they didn't get the wire tied very tightly. And so after he'd left the shop where the undercoating was, which was still probably damp, and by the way, the basis of undercoating is toluene. Then it was going down there. Well, we had spark against the positive wire against a grounded hot exhaust. Thus, you had spark, and with undercoating that hadn't completely flashed away, you got a fuel source. So you got ignition and fuel, and the motor coach went up in flames. So, just in that 30 or 45 minutes that I was just standing there looking at the coach and looking at wires, I determined this. And guess what? I pushed that back. Manufacturers, Ford and the RV manufacturer, were clear of it. So consumers, you need to be aware and follow the manufacturer's recommended guidelines for your capacities, your electrical capacities, things like that. Don't go adding in things that really don't belong, because guess what? You're going to waste your money if you're going to go sue an RV manufacturer, and that RV manufacturer has a service guy like I was, and could sit there and pick it apart and say, well, I know how this was manufactured, and that wasn't there when we built it at the factory. So buyers, it's in a buyer beware market. Excuse me. But you need to protect yourselves and follow the guidelines put forth by the manufacturer, because guess what? If you got a frame brake, better not have a daggum receiver hitch on the back of it that you towed a boat or another car or golf carts and things like that. I know snowbirds that use these big old fifth wheels. You want to go south, you want to take half of your life with you. It's a camper. It's an RV. Unless it's designed to have 15,000 pound capacity over and above what its dry weight is, and most of them aren't. Follow the guidelines. So anyway, that's my rant. I apologize that this is something that was really bothering me, but I had to get it out there, and I may continue some of this when I hear more. By the way, RVIA is a Recreational Vehicle Industries Association. They are not a body for quality. They are a body for things like the lights and things like that. So that RV is meeting the National Electric Codes or the codes set forth by the Recreational Vehicles Industries Association. And in other words, make sure that your outlets are in the right places and poop runs downhill, and that the water lines are in areas where certain things are easily accessible. Has nothing to do with quality of the slide out and the fit and finish of the cabinets and the valances and things like this. That's not what the RVIA is about. That's the manufacturer. I mean, all of these things are the treatments and things like that. That's the warranties that you have for the year. I mean, if you have a cabinet door fall down, because the screws didn't get put in all the way, that's the RV manufacturer in the first year, not the RVIA. Has no governing body over that. So there's a lot of things consumers just don't understand, And a lot of the some of these people that I'm hearing all this noise out there on the in the YouTube area, you guys, you got to be careful of what you say, because you got a lot of consumers that are sitting out there just saying, really? Okay, so I get to sue this guy? Yeah, wait, go ahead and try. Waste your money. You might as well get out of it and not be RVing if you're going to go and abuse your piece of equipment. Thanks for watching. If you want more, put it down in the comments. If you want me to talk more about the RV industry, again, like I said, 25 years ago I was in this in the industry and got out of it basically right around 9/11, because the industry took a bath. I mean, it was bad. I was living in the Gulf Coast South, and there was no fly zones and things like that. Would I go back to work at the manufacturing side of it? Yeah, there's probably some manufacturers out there that need help. I'd be happy to help you get your business back in line. But, at this point in time, I'd like to go out and enjoy my RV. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.